All right. Welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to help entrepreneurs and content creators improve your mindset so y'all can go make more money, achieve your financial freedom, and do all the other beautiful things you want to do with your life. Before we get started, we have a fantastic episode for you guys. But first, Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Not much more to say.
I'm happy to be here as well. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking about how nice it would be if we got paid money to do this podcast, But 95 weeks in, we still are just doing it for all of you guys, for how much we love you, and because it feels so good and we have so much fun. So thank you guys for being listeners, sharing love, and sending in questions, because today we have a fantastic question from one of our listeners, which means this is an AYQ episode where we answer your question. And if you want to participate in one of these, all you have to do is go to creationtocashflow.com and you can submit a 90-second question yourself. We love to hear about what you guys are going through, where you're leaving this message from, what you love about the show, and what you need help with, or what suggestion or topic or thing you could use assistance with. So, are we ready to dive in?
Let's just dive right in.
All right, let's listen to what we have got.
Hi, Nick and Michelle. This is Sarah. I first want to say thank you for your podcast. I started listening maybe 6 months ago. I would go for a 4-mile walk every morning and just like binge your podcast every single day. And I've always been an optimistic person, but since listening to your podcast, there's just so many more tools that I feel like I have. And my mindset is so much better. I never would have thought that I would be thinking the way I am now due to your podcast. But I want to ask about, the times in your life where you feel like you're in survival mode, whether that's in your business or your personal life. How can you give yourself grace while also pushing yourself in those areas? Because obviously, when you feel like you're in survival mode, you just don't have the energy. You sometimes just don't have the capacity for so many things. So, how do you kind of balance pushing yourself and hitting those goals while also realizing, hey, I might not be able to do everything that I would like to do? Again, thank you so much.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
That was so lovely.
That was so nice. What a lovely message from our listener, Sarah. Sarah, thank you for sharing that. I know that it's not that easy to come and share your questions because you're like, what if they make a podcast about it? But that's exactly what we're doing this for. Like I said in the beginning, we don't do this for money. We do this for you guys. I mean, sure, maybe one day it will pay us, but that's not why we're doing it. We are 95 weeks in, y'all. I promise this is a venture for all of you. So, Sarah, thank you for the great question. I know it's not easy to leave those. Let's talk about survival mode and the balancing act that it is. Michelle, initial reactions.
My initial reaction is, well, one, obviously, great question. I think we all go through this different times during the year. But my first instinctual response would be, you need to change the timeline because you can still hit your goal, but you need to listen to your body more than anything. That is the most important thing to do. Obviously, it's all circumstantial. It just depends, because some people feel like they're in survival mode and they can get themselves out, but some people are in survival mode and they need to almost like embrace that timeline instead of trying to force themselves into being someone they're not or doing something they're not physically capable of doing, mentally capable of doing in that time. So, because that can lead to burnout. And so my initial reaction is like, wait, hold on. I want to know more details, but even if I don't, change the timeline of hitting that goal, because you still will. I think the innate nature in us to like want something now and like instant gratification. We want to rush things. We want to make sure that we're still like showing up every single day in the same way. It's just not humanly possible. We're not robots. nor are we supposed to be. And I have to constantly remind myself that I'm not a robot, and it's okay sometimes if my 100% today would have been 10% yesterday.
I love that you immediately brought it to the goals and the goal setting, because truly that's kind of going to determine everything. We're going to talk about a lot of actionable tips and ways of thinking, but truly your goal and your dedication to it based on the goal you set is going to determine everything. Because if your goal, Andy Frisella says this on his podcast, and it really clicked with me. So this is timely information. Andy Frisella talks a lot about goal setting, and he's a bit aggressive in his approach, but it made perfect sense to me. He says that, look, if your goal is to run a marathon and you make your goal to run a marathon, it's going to be very hard, and you're going to be at that like 21st mile, 22nd mile. A marathon is 26 miles if y'all don't know. And you're going to be like dragging ass, and you're going to be hurt, and it's going to be very hard to push through that last part. But if you, knowing that your real goal is to run a marathon, if you change your goal and say, I want to run a 100-mile race, all of a sudden a marathon becomes very in reach, because you change your training and you change the way that you're approaching the goal. Because to run a 100-mile race, that's 4 marathons back to back. So in a weird way, it made so much sense to me to actually set a more aggressive goal, because you have it in you. No matter what goal you set, it can be accomplished. But where you decide the finish line is what you're going to barely get to, if at all. So if you make the finish line 100 miles out, you're going to be running a marathon in training, and you're going to be taking the right steps, and you're going to be seeing your goals differently. So I thought that was a really interesting way to potentially reframe goals.
Yeah, yeah.
It is also important, though, to think about burnout. Seems to be the thing that's always on everyone's mind. This is the balancing act, right? Because burnout is always way further away than everyone thinks, but at the same time, it's not that healthy to operate and just like constantly like burning yourself out. Like humans are capable of so much. Like truly, whatever goal you have set, I promise you can handle that, and you can handle more. But at the same time, it's not healthy and it's not sustainable to constantly burn yourself out. So the challenge is to find what is the healthy balance. So let's start to unpack this a little bit. Michelle, what do you think burnout feels like? Like, what are the symptoms of burn? How do you know if you're burning yourself out or you have more in the tank?
Good question. I think that if I am going into this craving of salty chips, that I am approaching some sort of burnout, because that's typically what I do as a coping mechanism. If I'm craving to just sit and watch TV for hours and hours and hours and ignore everything else for days in a row, if I am trying to shut out my thoughts and my growth by consuming true crime or scary TikTok or like whatever that thing is, if I am basically my sign that I've learned over the years is that if I'm trying to get away from my reality to enter another reality because I don't want to feel the one I'm currently in, that is how I know I'm approaching something that isn't like, I shouldn't be doing these things habitually, because it can lead to a completely different lifestyle than I currently live, and one that I used to live back many years ago when I did have a burnout, like a whole burnout. And I was mentally unstable. I was like crying, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I'm such a positive person. What's going on? And like, I was just on a hamster wheel.
That is very intelligently described, how you mentioned that it's almost like when you start to slip in other areas of your life because of how much you're working and how hard you're working, that's a clear indicator that you've gone too far. Now, of course, there are ways we can make up for this, right? But that's usually like roughly where the line is. I feel the exact same way. I have that written down. Even though we didn't pre-rehearse that, like, it's kind of the same thing. Like when my habits start to slip, that's when I know that I haven't crossed the line, but I'm getting close to it, because when your habits start to slip because of how hard you're working, I find myself scrolling on my phone a ton. That is not the sign to stop or to slow down to me, because I know I can still handle more. The human body is so amazing. The human mind can be so determined and capable. I know I can handle more, but I'm getting close. And I like to live right there. I like to be close enough where, like, it's a challenge to maintain my healthy habits. Because if it's way too easy and you're like, oh, I'm getting burnt out, my goal is too big, let me pull back. And now you have 3 hours every morning to meditate and 2 hours at night to watch TV and 1 hour to journal. It's like, you've gone too far in the wrong direction now that you're not going to achieve your goals in a timely fashion. So, if we can find that line where you feel like your habits are starting to slip, that is the perfect place to live and to grow. It's kind of like when you run and they tell you, like, people that wear like the heart rate trackers, you're not supposed to run at 100% capacity. You're supposed to run at 80%. Like, your heart should be working at 80% of the 100% that it's capable of. So I feel like your job, whether you're in survival mode or you're burning out, is to find that line, right? What is the line that is, here's 100%, and I know that's unhealthy, to stay there and pull back a little bit from there so you can work on your goals, maintain your healthy habits, even though it's hard, but you're not totally sacrificing your mental and physical health.
Yeah, and I also think survival mode is stemmed from things happening around you that aren't in your control, and therefore you're letting things not in your control things you can control. Meaning, when the fires were going on in LA, and I had this, like, every day I was doing Pilates and I was posting about it, but then I was like, I don't want to post about it because of the fires. Therefore, I stopped doing it because I was like, well, I don't want to post, and I didn't have anything holding me accountable. It's the craziest thing. But I started to, like, want to eat my Takis chips I always talk about. Like, I started to slip away because of the fires, which are not in my control. There was nothing I could do about them. But I felt like, oh my gosh, okay, people are evacuating to my apartment. I'm hosting all these people. Now I got to make food. Now I got to get these things. And I was just like surviving, trying to make sure my go bag was ready. And I had to stop. I had to be like, wait, hold on. What am I doing? Yes, this one thing is out of my control. Yes, it is so sad, but I'm not going to let it dictate everything else. So I slowly started taking back control of things I can control that are good for me. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back. I'm going to start walking on my treadmill again. I'm going to start doing my Pilates again. And I was like, I'm going to start doing my to-do list every single morning again, because sometimes I don't do them and I always love when I do. So I was like, I'm going to slowly give myself grace for the way I feel, allow myself to feel these things. However, this cannot be what is dictating the rest of my day, and like other things that I genuinely can control, but like I'm choosing to like almost be in this out of control state of mind. It's like you have to pull yourself back into choosing yourself, choosing your health, choosing your mental and physical health. And that is going to get you into, okay, reminding myself what my goals are, why my goals are the way that they are, what I am doing with my life, and why. And it's like tuning your guitar every day. You have to tune your body and your mind every day, especially when you feel like you're in survival mode, or else you're gonna slip away slowly and start to lose who you are.
What a beautiful current analogy for all of this. Like, that's a perfect description of, like, gone too far. My healthy habits are slipping because everyone is literally in actual survival mode. And then you had to pull back a little bit and find that balance. And I want to normalize that for everyone, especially Sarah listening, that you are not just going to be like, oh, cool, let me just decide that this is where it's at. That's where the line is. Cool, I'll just live here. Like, it's going to come in these swings of, like, I've gone too far and now, like, I'm not pushing hard enough. It is going to come in those swings, but your job is to recognize that. And that's why me and Michelle often go back to journaling and documenting these things, because there really is no better way to check in with yourself. Oh my God, I saw the fox again from last week. I won't get distracted this time. There's no better way to actually check in with yourself than either meditation, breath work, or journaling. Those to me are the three things that I can do to check in with how I'm feeling. And when I'm in a season of potential burnout or survival mode, or even just a season of life where I feel like I need to be more in tune with how I'm feeling and how I'm balancing things, just start writing it down. Your hand will just start going. Like if you are prompted properly to just write down like, how am I feeling, and finding the balance between everything I'm trying to accomplish, boom, there's your prompt. And you start writing, I promise your whole heart is going to pour onto that page and the back of it probably. And now you've gotten it off your chest. You can take a break, take a 5-minute break, and you can come back and look at the words on that paper and be like, wow, that's how I'm really feeling, huh? Because tendency in survival mode is to suppress how you're feeling and do what has to be done. That can work briefly, but all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. You're going to have to address these things at some point, and I love to just do it head on. Did you journal a lot during the fires?
I mean, I journal every morning and every night, but I'm not like in a journal with like a blank page. I haven't been doing that lately because I talk to myself in videos a lot. That's kind of my thing, is like I like make voice memos and recordings, and it was really fun because, you know, obviously when people were there, I wasn't doing a lot of that except the morning and the night because I'm in bed and like nobody's in the bed except my husband if he's in town. And so like I was journaling that, but my thing is I process out loud. For instance, our podcast, I never plan what I'm saying. I never have an outline. I don't even see what they look like. Nick does all that. And I don't know what I'm thinking until I start talking. And a lot of times, if I just press voice memo record on my phone and I start talking, then I come up with all these things. It was really cool because I got into the habit of that a while back, and now I've started to create voice memos. This is so off topic, but I've started to create voice memos of like movie ideas I have, and like TV series and book ideas and all these things, all this creative like thoughts. And I'm not allowed to be like, not allowed, sorry, not the right word. I'm not capable of being creative if I'm not in tune with my instrument, which is my mind and my body and my voice. And I'm only going to be in tune if I'm showing up and talking or journaling about how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, what I'm processing. I have to do all that first. That's all the prep work. And then I can be creative, and then I can reach my goals, and then I can think outside the box. But if I'm not doing the initial, like, how am I feeling? Let's check in with myself every day. Then I will never get to that spot of like writing a book or creating a TV show or writing a TV show, whatever. So it's almost like my journaling is my talking to myself a lot, but it can be transcribed, but I'm not physically writing, but I do write every morning and night.
I love that. It's the same thing. It's your outlet. And it's the same as like when 95% of people start writing, it all starts coming out, and that's exactly what happens when you start talking. So it's the same thing. You're giving yourself that outlet during these times of survival mode to just get everything off your chest, and then it allows you to step back, listen to it or read it and be like, wow, that's really what came out, huh?
And one thing too, I think that the reason it's better for me to talk is because my ADHD, right? So when you're writing, yes, you can be like off topic and say random things, but my brain and my hand, they aren't in the same timing. Like I can say a lot faster than me writing. Like my hand cannot keep up with the thoughts I have. That's why I like talking. So if anybody does struggle with like writing down your thoughts, try talking on a voice memo on your phone app or whatever. Just start talking and saying your thoughts out loud, because they might come a lot faster than you trying to like write with your hand. That's why it's a struggle for me, because they're not in sync and nothing really makes sense either. My journals would be hilarious. They'd be so all over the place if I like transcribed what I said in my voice memos.
That is a wonderful tip for our listeners. I'm super excited about that. Let's also talk about the part that I know everyone's like, but what about money? Like, that's totally the part that everyone is hoping that we're going to speak on. And of course, y'all know we would never half-ass a podcast for you guys. We're gonna talk about that. My first tip is, especially in survival mode, to reframe your relationship with money, because the world is ruled by money in a very sad way, but those who have a lot of it know that money is an energetic tool, and it has everything to do with who you are as a person and how you take care of yourself and the value you provide your marketplace. It has very little to do with your ability to slave away at a certain task hour after hour, but that's how most people see money. They're like, all right, I need to trade my time for money. And then when it's not working, they're like, I need to find a place where I could trade my time for slightly more money. I need a new job with a little more money per hour, or an opportunity that's a little bit better. But the money will come to you based on how much value you provide your marketplace. So if we're in the world of content creation, for this example, if you're not a valuable content creator, you're going to be in scarcity mode financially. And you got to take a step back and develop some more skills and learn how to bring more value to your marketplace. Because if you're just a very valuable person in whatever you do, right? Let's give a random example. Maybe you're a crane operator on a construction site. If you are the best crane operator in the United States and you can handle the most difficult and grueling construction site, you're going to make way more money than anyone else because of how much value you provide. But if you're a brand new crane operator, you just aren't that valuable. And it's okay. It's totally okay. I'm not saying this to make anyone feel bad because you're now questioning your own value, because it's something you can change, right? You can sit around and complain about how much money you make and how scarce you feel, or you can journal or do a voice note and truly look yourself in the mirror and say, here's how much value I provide my marketplace, and create a plan to become more valuable, to learn more skills. Because one of our first podcasts ever, we talk about this. We've done a couple episodes on it, like learning versus earning. You are in one of those stages. If you are listening to this, you might be in the wrong one and you should flip flop, but you're either in an earning stage where you know what value you provide to your marketplace and it's a lot and you are earning and you are getting paid because of it, or you are in a learning stage. If you're in a learning stage, you need to be learning and developing skills and becoming more valuable. So when it's time to switch to the earning stage, you can. And as humans, we need to go back and forth sometimes as we're trying to level up financially. And that is the key to the financial part of scarcity mindset.
I feel like we are always going back and forth. I'm always going back and forth between learning and earning, like constantly teetering on both sides. But it's like when I step back to go to the learning, it allows me to step 2 steps forward past what I was earning before. And so you have to be okay with that as well. That's another thing when you're in that survival mode. You have to ask yourself, am I on the right side right now? Like, should I give myself the grace and the acceptance of stepping back right now to take care of things? Also, you said something earlier I want to touch on where you were like, money is energy. It completely is. There's so much I could say. We could have a whole podcast. We probably do. We could have hours of content just talking about this. But there's something so powerful about what your goal is. Yes, you need money to hit the goal maybe. Like me, I really want to go to Dubai this year. I really want to go to Dubai. I was supposed to go last year. I didn't go. I want to go this year. And I'm like, okay, flights are going to be at least $11,000 between me and Evan to get there. And then we want to stay at the Atlantis Royale. And I'm like, okay, that's going to be a lot, So like I have to save up, right? But I'm like, in my head, I think in the past I would have been like, okay, I need to work X, Y, and Z. I need to work double time, whatever. But actually, what is going to get me there, and I just need to freaking do this, I need to start waking up a little earlier so I can have more mental capacity to think outside the box. I need to take really good care of my physical health and what I'm putting in my body, because what I put in my body determines how well my brain operates. My brain and what I'm capable of doing, my capacity, is directly linked to the vitamins and nutrients I'm putting in my body through food. Directly. I've done studies on this myself. It is so correlated. So I'm like, the healthier I eat, the more I move my body, the more I'm able to have silence in the morning will get me more money. And it's not that I'm like, I'm gonna work extra hard. It's no, I'm gonna take better care of my mind. Therefore, I'm going to attract that money. And the second thing, real quick, I wanna say about that is my housekeeper. Her name is Marilyn. If you guys have heard, you know I set her up with like a business cards and a website and social media in 2021. I met her. She's amazing. There's another lady that came and cleaned my friend's apartment the other day. And she was half the price of Marilyn. She was easily accessible. She came quickly. Marilyn's booked out like 3 weeks in advance, okay? She is thriving, by the way. Her and her hubby own her business now. She's doing so good. I'm so proud of her. But Marilyn charges more for the same amount of hours because she puts so much thought in detail into everything she's doing. She's adding that value that Nick is talking about. It could be something as simple as that. Yes, she's exchanging time for money, but it's in the same exact building, the same exact client. Why is it that Marilyn can charge $300 when this lady charges $150? I could tell you why. I walk into my friend's apartment, the soap little thing isn't, the label's not turned out, it's to the side, it's not cleaned up. Her paper towel roll is like all like out of sorts, it's not folded. Marilyn makes little roses on the toilet paper, and she makes little folded things on every paper towel roll. She makes sure there's no water spots. There's nothing missed. Every detail is looked after, and it makes you feel a certain way, so we pay her a lot more. So it's like, are you gonna be the one that half-asses things because you're just trying to get a lot of stuff done? Or are you gonna take the time to be meticulous, to learn more, to how to add more value to your clients, to whoever you're working with? That way they feel like you're worth the extra 2 times amount that you would not necessarily be getting if you were just an average person or average creator, like you said.
Go Marilyn. Oh, wow. That is such a perfect example of just doing everything with excellence. And like, she used to be in a learning stage for sure, where she was learning from you how to market her own business. She spent enough time in there that she was ready to transition to an earning stage, because now she brings more value to the marketplace that is the Los Angeles cleaning industry than her competitors. And she's booked out 3 weeks in advance because people would rather pay for the value and the experience that someone has, and they're going to get better results, right? You're going to have a cleaner house. It's going to be way more special feeling. I've seen the little things she does on the toilet paper. It's fantastic. And you're not getting that from someone who, this other girl, we're shitting on the other girl, but this is how life works in the marketplace where you're trying to make money as an entrepreneur or content creator. You're either the best or you're trying to scrape by at a lower price, and other people are far surpassing you in both quality, because in quality and what they're able to charge, because they're more valuable than you. So that other girl, she could keep living in what's probably a scarce mindset and trying to just get by. And instead of learning and honing in her craft, she's trying to just get another client, another cheap client. While instead, if she took 2 steps backwards, cut a few clients, and yes, she's going to feel some financial scarcity when she does that for sure. But if she did that and spent some time training on how to be a much better cleaner, like Marilyn is, and how to do the little fold on the toilet paper, and how to make sure everything is properly merchandised in every cabinet and every pantry and every shower, she's going to then be able to take 5 steps forward when it's time to go back to her earning phase. So y'all might have to lower your cost of living and your minimums a little bit, because it's hard. It's hard to take those steps backwards when you're like, Nick, Michelle, I can't take steps backwards. I'm already like barely scraping by. I know that is the challenge. So you either got to start waking up earlier and find more time to learn on the side of your earning, or you got to cut some clients and you got to cut back. But no matter what, you will be stuck if you don't spend enough time in your learning stage. You'll never reach the earning stage you deserve.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. When I said wake up at 6, I'm not trying to do 5, but wake up at 6, because right now, if you have listened to this a while, you know, Nick knows, I'm in acting school. There are 2 days a week where I'm in class for 6 hours, basically. I also have rehearsal. I also have prep. I have so much I'm doing and spending. And I'm not waking up early, and I was waking up early when I wasn't doing this. So I'm like, how much less capacity do I have now? Because I'm choosing to not wake up at 6 a.m. just to get a little extra time. So today I woke up, I woke up at 4:30 a.m. and I was wide awake and I was wired and I was like, okay, one more hour. So I got out of bed at 5:30 this morning. But I have to hold myself accountable to that. Like, at least get up, do my journal, and start reading. I'm rereading Atomic Habits for the 6th time. I know what I need to do, but it's almost like I try to talk myself out of it, thinking I'm okay with doing what I'm doing. I could do this. But for how long? My current habits will not get me to Dubai this year. They just won't. And hello, I'm holding myself back. So it's almost one of those things where it's like, okay, you're making a choice to not get up early. Oh, also, sorry, such a side note. Marilyn, she comes every 2 weeks. She's coming today. She started waking up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the gym every day. And I said, wow, Marilyn, what the heck? You're so amazing. She said, Michelle, because she has multiple kids and she takes care of her family and runs her business. She's such a boss lady. I'm so proud of her. Because when I met her, she had just quit a family that she was working for. But she said, Michelle, if I don't wake up at 4:30 and go to the gym, although I'm on my feet every day cleaning, she said, I cannot work out or do anything for myself if I'm not waking up at 4:30 a.m. So she wakes up at 4:30, she goes to the gym, she takes care of her kids, makes sure they go to school, whatever. Then she goes and cleans all day, and then she never misses church. She does not work on Sundays. She says, that is God's day. I am not working on Sunday. And she doesn't work Wednesday nights because she has youth group at the church. She serves, she volunteers. All of the luxury homes that she cleans in LA, we're constantly giving her stuff for free to donate to people who need it. So she volunteers in her community. She's constantly giving back because she knows how blessed she has been since 2021, and her business is thriving, and she has an abundance mindset. Even though she could work 7 days a week, she doesn't, because she's like, no, it's worth it to give myself back what I need. It's worth it to wake up at 4:30 a.m. 6 days a week when I'm working every day, because she knows the importance of taking care of herself. And that's why she has such a good business. You know, it's all connected.
Marilyn is such a fucking inspiration. This is amazing. I'm so fired up thinking about how she definitely, it's maybe not definitely, she likely was not born this way. She likely was not raised this way. She probably spent a lot of time in survival mode and said, look, I'm stuck. She looked at herself in the mirror and said, I'm stuck. I'm not going to get where I want to go like this. I got to take a step back. I got to learn more. I got to be better. And now, boom, she is living life and she is earning. And Michelle, thank you for sharing your realization that your current habits aren't getting you to Dubai. That's so awesome and difficult. Honestly, that's difficult to look at yourself and say. And I know everyone listening to this podcast, I know y'all got things just like that happening where you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, fuck, I don't want to say that I'm off track, but I'm off track. I know I'm off track, and I'm going to have a hard conversation with myself. So Michelle, thanks for sharing that, because I know that inspired other people who look at you and they're like, God, Michelle's like perfect. Like she's flawless with her habits and her this and her that. And that's a very vulnerable moment right there to share. Like you might have, you might be out earning many people, but you still know you want to do more, and you're going back to the learning phase. You're learning how to improve your habits again for the 6th time. You're reading Atomic Habits, and you're really starting to get it and see. And you know what's going to happen? Pretty soon we're going to be doing an episode and you're going to be like, hey, Nick, I'm having a time conflict. I'm going to be in Dubai that day. Can we do the podcast a little earlier or later or whatever? So I hope y'all make the changes that Michelle is about to. And thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. And guys, if you've learned some habits or you've read that book before, any book, you probably need to keep rereading it the rest of your life, because we get out of tune. That's the thing about being a human and not a robot. I did want to say the thing about Marilyn. I won't speak for her, but in 2021, the only reason I met her is because my previous apartment manager worked with her at this family that was not good. And Marilyn, out of faith, quit that job because she knew she couldn't do it anymore. And she asked for help. She was like, look, I need work. I'm going to clean. Does anybody need cleaning? And our building, my old building, had cleaners they hired. But the manager was like, listen, I know this girl. She just started her own business because she quit this other one. Would you want to hire her instead of the company we recommend you hire? And I was like, yeah, let me hire her. Like, I'm all about supporting entrepreneurs. Nick, I met her and I was like, this woman deserves the world. And that's why I made her all those things for free. She never had to learn marketing. She got so good she does word of mouth. But like, she has a website I pay for and made and business cards and everything. And it's just like, if you show up and you be honest with yourself, like Nick is saying, be honest with yourself, ask for help, quit whatever's making you feel like you're in survival mode out of faith. Somebody like me will come around in your circle because you're believing for that. You're believing in yourself more than your circumstances. Somebody like me will come around and help you, hold your hand alongside you and allow you to restart and rebuild. And then 3 years later, you could be having a luxury Los Angeles cleaning business, working with your hubby full time who got to quit his job too. And you're having this whole beautiful like life now. And it's all because you decided to not stay where you were and have faith that everything will work out.
And I love that you did choose to go with her because you know, and you knew then that money is energetic. So you go with that girl who really needs it at the time. And you're going to have a time in your life too where you really need it, whether it's this Dubai trip or maybe something way more scarce. But like, you know that money is energy. So you invest that energy into people that deserve it, into good businesses and into quality and service and value. So I love that. I love that this has become like Marilyn's episode.
I'm sorry, but I mean,
No, it's
she's a
great.
good
It's so perfect.
example.
She's the perfect example. I love it. No apology necessary. I love this episode so much. God, I'm reading so many books right now, but I need to read Atomic Habits too. I got to finish up a couple. I'm actively reading like 6 books right now. By the way, y'all, a little reminder. I feel like everyone's afraid to do that, but like you wouldn't do that with your TV shows. Like you wouldn't be like, "Oh, I can't watch that TV show because I'm in the middle of another one." Like, no, you just flip-flop.
No,
Really? You
I don't flip flop books. I cannot flip flop TV shows or movies. If I'm watching something, I can't just like stop watching that. I have to finish it. I have to binge it. That has to be my everything. That's just how I am though.
That's so interesting because I feel like most people, I feel like typically watch many like they have a lot of TV shows they love. They're like, oh, I put on The Office for this. Oh, when I want something like scary, I watch American Horror Story. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of TV myself, but anyway, I do that with books. I love doing that with books because sometimes I'm inspired to read one about, like, I'm reading a money book right now called Die with Zero. And it's about like using your wealth at the proper times in your life. Cause most people save so that later in life they could do all this shit. But like the numbers show that later in life, you're not going to want to do shit. You're going to want to chill. So you got to spend while you're young and alive. And so, yeah, I'm reading many books right now, but Atomic Habits is coming this year for Nick, for sure.
That's so
I
funny.
don't send me another copy. I have one, I swear.
No promises.
Anything else we need to hit on for Sarah or any of our listeners that want to know more about like survival mode, scarcity, burnout, all these things?
I think that it's just natural for us to feel survival mode like several times throughout the year, but like just think back to the Stone Age when all they were doing was surviving. Like our ancestors were just living to survive, but we have such a different world now where we don't have to be that way. But of course, nature will always bring us back to that because that's what we used to do. We used to wake up at the crack of dawn to go get wood or food to then survive. Like that was the world. Now we have choices, but it's up to us to make those choices. And it comes down to, are you taking care of yourself? There's so much noise out there. You have to learn to shut it out and to let life happen for you and not let it happen to you. And it's like, I mean, I say that basically every episode, but I have to tell myself that every day. Like, oh, I'm choosing this because I have the power to choose. I don't live in the 1000 BC or whatever. I live in 2025 and I have the power to choose. So I'm going to choose. And you have to tell yourself that every day. Don't let yourself get so out of tune that you don't even recognize your instrument anymore.
That's a perfect example because truly distractions will kill you on this journey. They absolutely will. So you got to take care of yourself first. You got to move your phone charger away from your bed because when you're in survival mode and scarcity mode, your tendency is going to be to distract yourself with drugs, with alcohol, with other distractions, with TV, with whatever it is that sort of numbs you. Your brain is going to lean to that because it's hard work and your brain wants to conserve energy for you and your body. So you got to cut those distractions and set clear boundaries and say, like, hide your TV remote from yourself. Do whatever you got to do. Move your phone charger away from your bedroom, away from your bedside. Please, oh my God, I can't say that enough times. That is pretty much the theme of this podcast. Just move your phone away from your bed, cut the opportunity to be on your phone while in bed, and boom, like you will win if you could cut out the distractions, take good care of your mind, and work super hard. You're going to be just fine. You're not going to have to be in survival mode much longer.
Yep, and always just be grateful with where you are, because there's so many times when we compare ourselves to who we were or to other people and thinking that we can do what they can do. Don't do that. Just be so grateful with where you are and have goals, but like don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's why I love documenting these things, whether you write it or you voice record it, because you will look back at some point and be so freaking proud of yourself that, like, when you're reading and you're reading what you wrote or listening to what you said, and like that version of you was just trying to get everything off your chest. Once you get through this and you find that abundance that you've been training for, you will be so happy that you documented how bad things were because it helps you be so grateful for where you got, and you will forget. You, like, once you get out of survival mode, we tend to just forget and stop being grateful for how good things have gotten. And that's why I love documenting the really hard days of your life so that you can always look back and be like, at least I'm not there right now. I'm so grateful for everything I've got and everything I have and who you've become. If y'all are looking for more of this, more of Nick and Michelle going back and forth with advice to help you guys, you better be subscribed so that you get a notification when we drop new episodes, because we drop them every single week. This is episode 95. We're coming up on 100 weeks of doing this for you guys. And if you loved it and you laughed and you got some value today and it was in any way helpful or inspired you, give us 5 stars on whatever app that you listen on, because that helps us rank higher. That helps us reach more people, helps us get more questions in. And we do it for you guys. You know, the alternative is that we just run a ton of ads and we make money off this podcast, and we don't want to do that. So if you guys at least share the love, you know, you put it on your story, you share it with other people, you give us good ratings, then we know at least we're doing this for the right reasons and y'all are getting value, and we don't have to run ads and we don't have to worry about those things. So also, if you want to check out Michelle's social medias and all of her amazing resources, you can find her at Michelle JH with, that's Michelle with 2 L's, 4 E's, JH. And you can find me on social media at Get Ahead with Nick. And that's all we got for today. We love you guys and we will see you next week.